right. All right. Good evening, y'all. Maybe good morning. Wherever you may be in the world. Welcome back to another episode of Dear Dr. Courtney, where we talk about all the life things and all the psychology that's the undercurrent underneath it. Sometimes there's some biological and some spiritual components to that as well. So, our topic tonight is self love. For the next 12, 14 minutes, I want you to imagine that I'm your therapist and I'm talking to you about what self love is, how do we apply that, and why it's important. Okay? So, let's start out. Well, I want to first say because I am new to this channel, y'all are new to me. Many people are new to me, particularly if you're not actually my therapy client watching this. I have given myself the title. I am a self-proclaimed vocabulary nerd. Okay, so what I mean by that is I love vocabulary words. Okay, so I like to look up definitions of common terms as well as uncommon terms. And I know you may be thinking like, well, why? But when we're thinking about understanding ourselves, understanding life, understanding our emotions, it really helps us to clarify what exactly do we mean when we say, I feel like I love somebody. What exactly do we mean when we say, I feel angry? Sometimes I feel a sense of loneliness. Because again, those are very broad and loaded terms. If you ask 10 different people how they would describe love, loneliness, happiness, and anger, you'll probably get 10 different variations, right? So, because of that, I like my definitions. I love my vocabulary words, and we're going to talk about my kind of consolidated definition of self love. So, when you think about self love, a lot of people are like, I hear this term all the time, but like, what does that really mean? Like, what does that really look like? Okay, imagine your behaviors, your feelings, your interactions with somebody that you love. Okay? So you spend time with them, you treat them well, you're patient with them, you're kind to them, you have a sense of admiration, adoration, you're warm towards them, you are forgiving if they make mistakes, you are flexible with them, etc., etc. You care about what puts a smile on their face. And so you do things or you say things that will encourage that person to feel good, to feel happy, to feel appreciated, to feel seen, to feel cared for. Um, to let them know that the minutia, that's a new vocabulary word that I recently kind of just got hung on, the details of that person, that you're paying attention and it matters, right? What matters to them matter and their feelings matter. Okay, so that's our broad definition of love externally when we point it towards other people. Love is an action. It's what we say, it's what we do, it's in our energy, it's in our thoughts as well. And when you think about self love is literally taking all of the warmth, all of the care, all of the consideration that you pour externally outside of yourself. You are actually, you think about like some arrows like going out, you're actually going to redirect those arrows in. Okay, so when you are showing yourself self-love, you celebrate yourself, you ask yourself the question, how can I be nice to myself today? What would I do if I was kind towards myself? What would I do if I wanted to uplift my spirits, if I wanted to empower myself, the same way that I would uplift the spirits of a loved one, the same way that I would provide emotional support to a loved one, how can I provide that to myself? Here's some examples of self love, right? You made a mistake. You are running late. You forgot to do something, and a penalty came behind it, okay? Self love would say, all right, I'm holding myself accountable, but I'm not going to call myself names. I'm not going to be overly critical of myself. I'm not going to be harmful towards myself to say I'm going to punish myself or I'm going to sabotage myself because I made a human error. When I show love to myself, I am nurturing my spirit. I am nurturing my self-concept, the way that I think about myself. I am protecting my self-esteem. When you love somebody and they mess up, you say, and imagine if this is a significant other. You know what? You did the best that you can do. You're only human. You're only one person. It's okay. It's okay. That is the same type of internal dialogue that I encourage you to have towards yourself. What self love does, right? Some people may say, like, well, self love, who cares? I'm in a relationship, I'm married. I don't need that because I have somebody else to dote love onto me. I'm glad you said that. So, when all of your source of love comes from one source or two sources or whatever, you're basically giving all of your ability to experience love, you're placing it in somebody else's hands. So if that person, God forbid, they pass away, perhaps maybe they're just having a hard time, so they're struggling to pour into themselves and show up for their own lives. So they certainly don't have the capacity to pour into you. Then what happens is that you are deprived of experiencing love and experiencing kindness and experiencing patience and grace and gentleness and those nice, kind gestures. You become deprived of those experiences because you basically assigned experiencing love to someone else. You assigned it externally. And that means that if that person doesn't show up and report for duty to pour love into you, then that can leave you at a deficit. That can leave you sitting and waiting until that person can return back to their station in your life. They have the time, they have the emotional capacity, the availability, or whatever. When we assign experiencing love only when it is given to us from an external source, what ends up happening is that we can dehumanize the people who love us. Okay, so you may be thinking, Dr. Courtney, like, what does that mean? All these jargony words, right? What that means is that you strip that person of their humanity. What their humanity is that they have a full range of emotions and they also have limitations. Okay? So, as much as your spouse may love you, as much as your best friend may love you, as much as your parent, your sibling, your friend, or whoever who's usually your main source of love being poured into you, as much as they may love you, they're still a human being with limitations. If something happens in their life where they're struggling and they don't have it to give, then what ends up happening is you feel like they have abandoned you. You feel like you have betrayed me because you knew that you are my only source. What ends up happening when you say, I have external sources of love and I also have internal, meaning self love, internal sources of love, you can say to your spouse, you know what, baby, I know you're having a hard time right now. You haven't gotten a lot of sleep. you're being spread really thin at work and in all your duties and all these things, it is okay. I understand. And I don't think you love me any less just because you can't show up for me right now the way that you used to. So get you some rest. I am going to dote on myself. I'm going to take myself out to lunch. I'm going to do something to put a smile on my own face. I'm going to be kind towards myself. I'm going to experience all the feelings of what it feels like to be loved, meaning to be treated well with kindness, with intention and care, with consideration. I'm going to pour that onto myself while you take a leave of absence. Something that I want people to remember is self love is not just something that's a concept for the singles, right? It is a concept that is incredibly invaluable even when you have community, even when you have relationships, even when you're married, even when you have children, because at some point in time, the people who love you, their humanity, and the limitations in their humanity will show up. And they just won't be able to show up for you for one reason or another, not because they don't love you, not because they don't want to, but because they have literally reached their capacity to pour into other people for whatever reason. Again, might be sick, might be going through a hard time, might be spread thin, whatever the reasons are, right? So just remember, self love is a concept that it applies to everybody. It's valuable to everybody, right? And I call it the gift that keeps on giving. And I also say that if you always show up for yourself when it comes to self love, if you make a commitment to always love yourself and treat yourself well every single day, you will never, ever, ever go without experiencing love. And this is so very important because, again, everybody who loves you, they may be in and out, it may be touch and go for whatever reason. But what you can rely on is if you commit to showing up for yourself every day, treating yourself well, meeting your own standards of love when it comes to what you expect from other people, giving that to yourself, you will never go without knowing what love, what genuine, pure love feels like. You will never go without knowing what it feels like to be treated well. I'm going to wrap up this segment here this evening, but I want to maybe kind of prompt a piggyback conversation that maybe I'll talk about in future sessions, or excuse me, future recordings. When you go into the dating world and a person shortchanges you, meaning they don't treat you the way that you treat yourself, that's a quick assessment tool to say, yeah, you're not for me. When you know what being loved well feels like because you experience it every day, and how you treat yourself, how you talk to yourself, how you spend money on yourself, just all the aspects of the experience that you give to yourself, when you meet somebody who gives you less than what you give yourself, you can quickly assess there's not a match here and you can move on. The other thing also is when you are kind to yourself internally in your mind, when you are patient with yourself, when you are kind in your words towards yourself, when somebody is harsh towards you and they're not kind and they're not patient, or they don't respect your time, or they don't see you, they don't understand the details about you, they don't appreciate the details about you, then you can say, yeah, what they're giving me is unfamiliar because what I am used to experiencing is love. Okay? So, I hope that this segment, this video is helpful. Always remember, if you don't take anything else from this video, you never have to go without love in this world. As long as you commit to loving yourself and treating yourself well every single day, no matter how anybody else shows up, you will never go without love, because you'll always have the love that you give to yourself. Have a good night.